What's going on, Scott Squad? We are back in the building, and y'all know we got to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 2, Episode 455. We are finally into the reunion for this season, Part 1. And of course, the same person that we started with, we're going to go ahead and continue this conversation with. We got Adam from Up and Adam here to break down all the shenanigans at the reunion. Adam, how you doing today?
Good, man. I always die laughing when you say like episode 400 and whatever, or this or that, and it really feels like that. I was talking to Jason about this, and when I told him that we've literally been covering this for almost half a year, he's like, "No way." I was like, "Yeah, it's lasted that long."
Yeah, we're in the season, but we're about to close it out. 2 more episodes to go, and we're gonna be discussing the reunion today, y'all. And side note, hey Jason. Guys in the chat, let us know where you're watching from. First things first, there's a lot to discuss, but I want to know, Adam, for a reunion part 1, and for everyone in the chat, what would you guys rate this episode?
I'm going with the 6.35.
Whoa!
Yes.
No, you got to tell us why.
Well, because I hate that Mary was not there. I really missed her, and I felt like there was an actual void with Mary's absence. And the way that they kind of addressed some of the things that she said that were a little bit more controversial this season, and just that part kind of irked me. I'm like, man, I really wish Mary would have shown up. The disclaimer at the beginning, I was like, I don't know what to say to this. And then, Jenny, when just... it was cringe. I hope part 2 and part 3 are much better. I'll say that.
Give me your thoughts on this note at the beginning. What was your thinking when you saw this play out on the screen?
Well, I was reading a lot of social media and people getting upset with the fact that Jenny was on the reunion, but they taped it before this came out. So there wasn't like a way. They're like, why couldn't they edit her out? They couldn't really edit her out from the reunion. They would have to retape an entire new reunion. So it just, I don't know, the disclaimer, what else were they supposed to say, I guess, aside from, they don't support her, but they already filmed it, unless they weren't going to put on the reunion. And of course they're going to put on the reunion because they want to have the Jen Shah arrest addressed. So it was just like it was strange.
When I saw this at the beginning I'll give you my my rating. But when I did see this note at the beginning, for those who missed it, this was in regards to Jenny Nguyen's social posts becoming public and her subsequent departure from the series. These posts are not addressed in the show. It made sense to me. I mean, there was, from a production standpoint, there was no way you were going to be able to get around Jenny being in this reunion because they had taped it prior to. So,
right.
What I might have done is excluded some of those moments from Jenny in the reunion. To be very honest with you, Jenny, talking about her sort of upbringing in Long Beach. You are familiar with Los Angeles, right?
Yep.
And so just to kind of hear her talking about, this idea of, well, I grew up in Long Beach and this is, in my culture, this, that, and the third. I was kind of like, I don't really want to hear any of this from you right now. And I'm surprised they didn't cut that out. Like just all of that. And even this moment right here.
Right. I think they could have edited out her parts. Obviously, when you get the wide shots and stuff, you're not going to be able to completely take her off the screen. But they could have limited or completely taken out most of the parts where she chimed in or, had something to say. And for Long Beach, in my opinion, I've been to Long Beach. I haven't seen maybe that side that she's talking about of Long Beach, but that's like me saying, I'm from Palm Beach. What? It's like, right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm from Palm Beach. You don't understand. Palm Beach, just like everywhere else, it has like, it's it's, tougher areas, but it's just, I don't understand how she's trying to use Long Beach as being relatable, but I don't understand a lot of things about Jenny Nguyen.
It didn't work for me at all. I felt like some of those conversations should have been cut. What I will give this reunion, I'm going to give it a 7.5. I'm giving it the 7.5 for me, and that is pretty on the low side for me. I don't typically go like I will usually. Most episodes kind of can average out to be about an 8 for some reason. But I'm going to give this a 7.5 because, again, I do agree with you. Like, those parts could have just been cut out. Like, we don't need to have those discussions. Let's keep this as, basic when we're talking about the race conversations as possible, simply because I just don't feel like none of the people on that stage have the range to really go into a real discussion about racism or anything like that, to be honest with you. I don't. The other thing that I feel like is, we touched on the Jen Shaw stuff. I would have liked a little bit more of that. I was kind of thrown off by Meredith's breakdown. I did not understand where that was coming from. And I'm always watching to see when someone has one of those like kind of breakdowns, if there's going to actually be tears that are streaming down your face. I'm really looking for that. I did see the tears. So I'm kind of on the fence about, I guess to me, it was strange because it was so out of the blue and everyone was looking like, what's happening right now? And maybe you have more, I don't know. Like,
I was wondering what you were going to pull out with that.
Maybe you can do it because I know that you're kind of a little bit more connected to particularly this cast in different ways, just from and how we all are in these communities in some way, shape, or form connected to some cast.
Right.
It's inevitable, right? So I was just kind of wondering, like, where did that come from? Because it was just like right at the beginning, right out of the blue. So I didn't really get that. And again, the fact that Mary wasn't there to really tell her side, to me, it did take away from some of the dialogue that I felt like was necessary for this reunion.
Absolutely. I'll touch on Meredith really quick. I felt like it sort of provided some context into why Meredith was reacting the way that she was throughout the entire season. She kept on saying that there are certain things that she can't talk about, but she was addressing her father and some health issues and mental health and all across the board. But I'm wondering, when she's saying I can't talk about some of these issues, if it pertains to some of her family members and things going on within the household that they've agreed not to share. I mean, this is just reaching. I don't actually know. I haven't talked to Meredith about this. But it felt like it was very out of left field. It made me kind of understand a little bit more. Okay, this is why you were acting, a certain way this season. And then for Mary, again, I'm so disappointed. I understand that she did not want to show up to the reunion to be attacked. I get that, because they would have went in on her. It was inevitable. But I think that she's so good at holding her own. I think especially with the way the glass was thrown in her direction and not at her, I think that people would have really sympathized with Mary, and people really want to hear her side of the story. It's not fair that now, which Andy Cohen did tell her when she said that she's going to opt out of coming to the reunion, he did say, you're going to let other people take control over the narrative. I just hate that that's exactly what is happening.
Right. Bruce says it may have been worth it to retake without Jenny, and that would have prompted Mary to then come and film. Her main issue was Jenny. She needed to stop repping LB. I'm from Long Beach. It's a 6.1 for me. Here's what I would say about the retaping thing. It probably wasn't even feasible to retake, because as we've seen, we didn't even get a New York reunion. Right. So I highly doubt that they would ever go back and spend the money to retape the Salt Lake City reunion. I mean, it would have been nice, but production-wise and in terms of like cost, I don't think that they would have wanted to shell out that amount of money to get all the cast back out to LA, because they filmed the reunion in LA for some reason and not Salt Lake City. So I just don't think that they would have been able to do that budget-wise. I mean, could they have? Perhaps. But would they have? I doubt it.
So this is easily a 6-figure production, correct? Yeah. Like with the soundstage and the sets and, all of the staff, everything that they have with the trailers on the lot, like you said, flying all of the talent out. This is Yeah, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And so again, from certain standpoints, I can understand why it had to stand as is. I would have probably edited it differently. That's just me. Another super chat from Chris who says, I couldn't watch treating Mary like a prop. There was another comment that I can't. Camilla, sorry. Camilla says, now that we have all the information, the reunion would not have been a safe space for Mary. And that is something that Meredith actually alluded to. So,
well, and for Mary too, she did have, listen, there are moments with Mary where she obviously would have had to address, like the yellow skin comment and the slanty eyes. And however, Mary's not the only person who's making, these inappropriate comments. So it shouldn't have been an attack Mary fest. I can see where she would have thought it would have been that way. And I agree with Camilla, who just said, watching how they opened it with it by saying that there were these incredible, I don't want to say the R word on here because I don't want to get you flagged, but incredibly like R remarks coming from Mary. I was like, wait a minute, that's how we're kicking off Mary's absence with the predator remark, and then that remark, that's how you're going to, it felt grimy.
Yeah, I think for me, it was difficult to watch. There were several times and several instances where Mary was called to the carpet on the show and apologized. And there was a time when she also did so online. We never got an apology from Jenny about anything. There was no real apology about anything. There was the post that was a lie, half a lie. And then there was the live, which was, I'm going to bring in a Black friend and help me out of this mess. And it did not work. So to me, I just felt like it was very difficult last night watching Heather Gay say that she felt like that deeply ingrained in Mary was just racism, like a racist person. That to me was, again, it was difficult because I was like, I don't know that she would have said that if Mary was there.
Right. And see, and that's another thing too, is like, it's almost like the equivalent of being a keyboard warrior, somebody who they'll say whatever because you're not in their face, as opposed to having them sit across from you and then you might not put out these statements. And they all know once Andy Cohen announced that Mary wasn't going to be showing up to the reunion, that is the nail in the coffin. They're like, okay, she's not coming back. We're going to say whatever we want. There's only been one housewife ever who's been able to do that, and that was Jacqueline Larita. And where is she now?
That part. The other thing I didn't like, and I don't want to really focus too much on that lady, but is when she was called to the carpet about, the Black scent, she kind of denied that again. And I have to commend Andy to a certain degree. I will say this, and people may not agree with this, but I'm okay with that. I did feel like Andy pressed issues last night. Whereas I feel like normally he does not. Normally, I feel like he lets people get away with whatever answer they want to kind of answer. And he doesn't really go further with anything. And I think that there were several instances last night where he really kind of probed a bit more than what he normally would have. And then that part about the used golf balls, when Meredith said, oh my God, I can donate those golf balls to the clubhouse if you want to. And he told her, I don't think that they're iconic enough. I was like, oh.
I love that. There were a lot of people too, and I'm reading them even in the chat right now. People who were saying that, you can't group people together and say everybody is the same, like saying, a Black scent or something, or like, there are some people who think that if you might be a white person, you're going to have this Southern kind of way of talking. And like I don't know the responses for this. I was just kind of thrown back. A lot of people felt, yes, that's exactly what she was doing. And a lot of people have said that's not a thing. You can't just group, everybody together and say, this is how, white people sound or Black people sound or Asian people sound. What were and I know you don't want to touch too much on this, but I was curious to kind of get your opinion on
the accent thing.
Yeah.
I think what we tended to notice was that there was every time, and it typically happened with Mary, the only person that Jenny really got crunk with was Mary. But every time she did get crunk, I mean, it was definitely, just the tone and the tenor by which she was speaking tended to turn a little bit, I don't know, just different. And even Mary noted it in the finale when she said, "Oh, we're getting a little hood, aren't we?" And to me, it was representative of what had been being asked about her when Andy asked her earlier on Watch What Happens Live, and then he asked her again at the reunion. It was like, this is the example in the finale that I was looking for to hear from Mary herself about what she was getting from Jenny.
Right.
So to me, that was the sort of example I think that people were hoping to have someone at least say, hey, this woman is continuously doing this, even though she denied it.
Right. Okay. And it's true too, where Jenny really was, she was going in hard on Mary. She was constantly looking like she felt like she could get a reaction or no reaction that could fuel some sort of, I think all season we were watching her look for a moment, and it became more and more apparent and abundantly clear that she was trying to use Mary for that moment because Mary wasn't giving her the time of day. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to run with this, which, I mean, Mary will read you up and down for filth. She wouldn't be the one. Jenny came in, well, Jen
tried to tell her, listen, you came in really, really hot. Nobody knew who you were.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
And that's it.
So and she did it more than once. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just that time with Mary. It was also with Jen and Meredith right when she was first kind of introduced to everybody. And to me, I love the moment when Meredith, gave her example after example of things that Jenny had also done to her. And I was like, oh, I literally have forgotten about all these little things these little just little passive aggressive things, or really just nasty things that Jenny was kind of doing to Meredith in the background.
Right.
Not in her face.
And it never made sense. That's the thing, is like, I understood why Jen and Meredith were going at it. I understand why Bad Weather and Lisa Barlow are going in on it. I understand, like, when they go after each other, it makes sense. I can understand why. But for the Jenny Mary situation, there really was never a reason that Jenny wanted to go in after Mary. And then, I think it just really turned her off when Mary was just, I'm not engaging with you. I don't have time. I don't know you. I don't need to know you. That's how I'm going to engage, by disengaging, which a lot of people can't handle that. I thought it was incredibly big of Mary to be able to do that, because it's hard when people are going in on you and they're throwing things at you and they're calling you out of your name and they're telling you to shut up and all kinds of stuff. Like, there's only so much people can be pushed. And we've seen housewives before who have been pushed to their limit and they've reacted.
Mm-hmm.
So I have so much respect, especially after watching that finale with Mary being able to just like walk away and look at her like, you fool. I was like, that's so big, because I don't know if I would have walked away from that.
I don't either. I mean, yeah. I don't either. I kind of want to talk about, we touched a little bit on Jen's alleged conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering. We know that we're going to get much more of that in future episodes. So I guess we can kind of bypass that a little bit. I want to go back to the moment with Meredith, because someone asked a question about it. And somebody in the comments said that I was calling her out about her behavior all season. I don't think I really called Meredith out about anything all season. I personally have been on the Meredith train most of the season, because I feel like Meredith I always talk about reality TV shows. There's always a person that doesn't get the notes. I don't think Meredith was getting any notes this season. I think she was showing up to film and was receiving whatever she got.
Right. And I don't think Meredith had any, unless it's just escaping me right now. I know people didn't like the way that, she reacted to Jen Shah's arrest and she was just laying in the bathtub. I know some people were like, that's just dirty, the way that she, navigated that whole situation. But I don't think we got any real moments where how Meredith was reacting wasn't justified, because you went in on her marriage. You said that she's sleeping with half of New York. You're talking about her father who she just buried. You know, you're talking about you're talking about her son who hasn't decided to have that conversation with anybody yet. I think that her reactions were pretty normal.
Same. I mean, I think the same thing. We get into who is the pot stirrer of this group, okay? And everybody thinks it's Lisa for the most part, except for Jenny. And then we get into this Angie and the catering fiasco, which is kind of one of my favorite things about this season. And I don't know why, because I still am trying to figure out what was really going on here. Did Lisa really mastermind all of this? Because as we found out last night, and we kind of had known this, apparently Angie told the caterers not to tell Lisa that the event was happening, because production allegedly told Angie that, hey, don't tell Lisa you're getting the first event of the season. So the theory is, I'm assuming from bad weather, that Lisa was trying to sabotage Angie's chances of getting on the show. That's what it felt like to me.
Well, and see, I understand that Lisa's trying to defend this this whole idea that she is completely innocent and they're all trying to paint her as something that she's not. But it just goes back to that old saying of where there's smoke, there's fire. That's just how it feels. And I love Lisa Barlow, but, you know, watching the show, you add the caterer with the, you know, Cameron coming in from the congregation. You have her mentioning the fashion designer from the audio clip with Jen Shaw and that whole explosive moment. And then you have the hot mic moment that really did not paint her in the most favorable light, which she said she didn't know that she was being recorded. But really, you know this better than I do, being around reality television. You know, when you're in a house on a trip filming a TV show, they're going to catch this moment, especially when they see you storming off. They're chasing after you. So many of these things added up. And I don't know how long you can claim, well, I didn't know that was going to come out, or I didn't try to make that happen. It just happened. I'm innocent. It feels like Lisa Vanderpump, I think, was genius at doing this on Beverly Hills for so long before they finally started outing her for being like this master manipulator, this like puppet master. And I feel like Lisa Barlow was trying to do that in a lot of people's eyes, but they caught on to her after one season, which is crazy to me. Lisa Vanderpump lasted some seasons. After the pandemic, though, all the viewers got smarter. We know, we see it. Sorry, Lisa.
And, you know, Lisa Vanderpump has this British, you know, accent, and she just had a different charm.
Right. It was delivered with like grace, even though it was like, it was so sometimes so mean, or just like the Maloof poof, and it was innocent, but it wasn't innocent. And then she's like, did I upset you? Oh, I didn't mean to upset you. And she's like, darling, I'm so sorry. No, just brush it under the rug. And they're like, no, these are my feelings. I'm upset. And she's like, oh, that's nothing. You want to grab a nice glass of rosé? And it's like, what? But she had the ability to dismiss you. Whereas Lisa Barlow, this is like kind of a witch hunt. They're going from one person to the next.
They are after her. Bad weather is on her like white on rice. I wrote that Lisa did well. First of all, I wanted to go back to something real quick. You know, Andy did call out Heather about the anime remark that she made about Jenny. So that was also interesting to see. But Heather also calls out Lisa for calling that Bad Weather and Angie, or at least Whitney and Angie, polygamist cousins.
Inbred.
That's what she said. And then Heather begins to call out Lisa's fake life by basically suggesting that when Angie took them all out on their boat into Cancun or wherever they went to, that Angie is living the life that Lisa is pretending to live. And then we get the tidbit from Lisa because I was playing this when Adam was first, when we were prepping for the show. And I was like, did Lisa say that Heather had a DUI and she had looked it up? And sure enough, she did. And it happened so fast, but I was like, no, wait a minute. Are we going to, nobody's going to touch on this? We're not going to talk about this DUI? And
is there a Heather Gay mugshot?
I don't know. I didn't have time to look it up, but when I was going back through my notes and I was like, oh, let me change this title because there was a DUI mention. But then I was like, wait a minute, I mentioned the DUI, but did I hear a DUI? So I had to go back and play it like 2 more times to make sure that I heard Lisa say it. And thank God you actually heard it too when I was replaying it. So I don't know if there's a mugshot or not, but I do know that there's a DUI out there. Now, no disrespect to nobody who has a DUI, because I have several friends who have them. But it was just interesting to me. It was just pulled out like that and nobody said anything about it.
Well, you know, Heather also denied it immediately when she said it. And she's like, that's not true. And Lisa's like, that is true. So this is one of those things. It'll be very telling about Heather Gay if it comes out and there is a mugshot and you just lied to not only your castmates, but everyone who's watching on TV, because you're setting the tone. It takes, I learned this my whole life. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation and for people to trust you. And it just takes a matter of seconds to lose that. And if you just lied to us and said, you know, you didn't have a DUI, but you actually did, people aren't going to trust her moving forward. They're not going to believe what she has to say. So I hope for her case, she did not have a DUI.
Mm-hmm. Go back and look. I'm gonna tell you what minute it's at. It was at like the 50-minute mark if you're watching on YouTube TV. Okay, now to me, now again, Heather did make me a little angry at the beginning of this when she had called Mary the R word, but she did deliver to me what I felt like was a slight smackdown moment when she said, "We all really like you, Lisa. I liked you when you showed your true colors, but I don't want to be friends with a caricature of someone she read in a teen magazine 20 years ago about how to be a cool mean girl."
That was rehearsed.
But I liked it.
It felt so rehearsed. It felt like
I liked it.
It felt like when Lisa like coined the bad weather phrase. Like it was just like, how long did you think of that? You know, it felt like watching Heather Dubrow tell Shannon, if you ever come for me or my family again, you're going to lose a lot more than just a friendship.
I want to throw my MacBook right now. I cannot stand Heather after that. After that moment, I was like, you are just a horrible rich woman. Just horrible. A horrible rich woman. Okay? And I don't like it.
She's like, I got the money and I will tie you up in litigation for the rest of your life.
And you know what I think? I think she has been wanting to have something over Shannon ever since that first season when Shannon first got there. And Shannon kind of showed everybody exactly who Heather was. And I feel like Heather has been wanting this moment with Shannon ever since then.
I mean, having a vendetta is a very real thing. We're all human, right? So to say that she wouldn't come in with a vendetta and be like, oh, okay, I mean, she had so much time to reflect on what she could have said, what she should have said, what she would have said to Shannon. And coming back into the season, knowing Shannon would be on the cast, I'm sure 100% she was like, I got you, girl. Don't worry.
Because I'm still feeling like Shannon did nothing wrong. She didn't say it on camera. She told the truth. But that's a whole different rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I will not go down it today. I'll talk with you about that later. We get into this thing about Jen and the former stylist, right? It was a stylist, designer, something. And Lisa bringing it up on camera about that whole incident. And Andy asked, Jen, what did she make of that moment then? And what does she make of it now? And it's confusing to me because I could not understand why Lisa was bringing it up other than to point out that Whitney was not a good friend to Jen.
I mean,
because apparently Jen had already said, don't mention this person on camera and don't mention their name.
Right.
And then Lisa brings it up on camera.
Right. And it makes me wonder, is it one of those moments where I feel like Lisa Barlow is kind of one of those people who, when production tells her, we need you to bring this up, we need you to say this because we need to keep the storyline going, that she's like, yeah, I'll say it. I'll say it. If it rewards me with more camera time, if it, makes me like the gold star one of the group, then I will say it. And it seemed like it was shady to bring it up, and Jen squashed it really quick. But I did kind of feel like it was her attempt to bring it up to turn Jen against Whitney. That is how I felt. Because why else would you bring it up? Why wouldn't? I mean, there's no other reason. It's like Adam, one of those things like,
if you and I are filming a reality television show and you tell me not to mention something, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to mention it. I don't care how much it would escalate the drama of the situation. I just am not going to do it.
Right. But not everybody's a DJRichieSkye.
I mean,
and some people are messy as all get out, and they'll do it. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw it brought up. There was no other reason. It's like one of those, I get so annoyed when somebody starts a conversation with me and they're like, oh, I have to tell. Oh, I can't tell you. Never mind. You know what? Just forget it. I'm like, why bring it up? Same thing with this situation. Why bring it up?
I hate that. Oh, I hate it. We get the Fresh Wolf event was like, I guess, a moment where, Lisa was having an event. She had just come off the argument with Jen from that moment where they brought up the stylist. We didn't see this argument that happened in the car between the two of them where Lisa was crying and her son was having to hug her from the back seat. And then we find out that Whitney was invited to the Fresh Wolf event because Lisa wanted Whitney to see her in her mom element, and she did not invite Jen because her son had just seen her crying after a fight with Jen. I did not get where this was supposed to go, but the end result was that Lisa says that she loves Jen despite how controversial it is to do so. Do you feel like it's controversial to like Jen?
Yeah. I mean, right now, this is the thing, and I get a lot of crap for this on my channel, and it's not my job. I'm not.
What are they giving you crap about on your channel? I would like to know, because I can tell you what I get crap about, but
well, because I always say, I'm not the court system, and right now it is the Southern District of New York's job to prove without, beyond a reasonable doubt, whatever, that Jen Shah is guilty of the crimes that they're accusing her of. And she's saying, in the United States of America, right now, I am innocent until proven guilty. So when I talk about this and people want me to be so quick to convict her, I'm not the court. I'm not the judge. I haven't seen the evidence. I'm not going to convict somebody. And I also think about it from a broader scope of her family, her kids are watching this. And I always get shocked by how many people will message me. Like, that's how I got in contact with Mary's family, because they watch my channel. They watch your channel. Like they watch YouTube. So you don't really know who's watching it. And when you get some of these people who come on and they just want to slam somebody for a good video and to make sure that it gets the views, and you won't find that on my channel. So for the Jen Shah thing, yes, I think right now, to some people, they look at it like it's controversial to be in Jen's corner because we're hearing that, there are over 100 victims. It's elderly. People were scammed. And yeah, you would, if this comes out to be true, you have every right to be mad at whoever is convicted of these crimes. But in the meantime, we have to wait and see the evidence and how it plays out. But yes, people, it's like, is it controversial to say that you like Erica? I feel like I'm pleading my case to you.
I'm just saying that's the Erica thing is a good question. What I was going to say about the Jen situation is this. I mean, for number one, legally, it's not like we're going to be, hopefully, just anybody in this space, we're not going to be getting on camera saying she is guilty, she should go to jail. because legally that's not necessarily true yet.
Right.
It's not. It is guilty. It's innocent until proven guilty. Supposedly, right?
Right.
But when I'm talking about Jen, for the most part, I mean, outside of anything I'm discussing with her trial, I always feel like I think Jen Shah is a good housewife.
Right.
And that's why I kind of have to leave it, right? She's a good character on the show. So selfishly, I want this to not be true because I want to see the drama continue. Okay. And that's just being real about it. But do I know whether or not she's guilty or not? No, I don't know. I mean, and even my biggest issue with Erica was not so much, at least in as time went on, my issue with Erica was not, well, she should be fired because her husband did this and that and the third, allegedly. It was more or less how she was maneuvering through the situation that was very off-putting to me, right?
Right.
It seemed that there was no care about the victims involved when it seemed like she was doing things in the face of these victims of all of the stuff that her ex-husband is accused of doing.
Exactly.
So, can you still like Erica? I think you can. I think you can still support her. I think you can still be a fan of hers as a housewife. But, you don't always have to like what a housewife does outside of that on social media.
To be fair, too, I mean, and I know people might not necessarily agree with this comment, but with Mary Cosby for sure not returning and not knowing what, the future holds for Jen Shah on this show, we know that we're getting Jen Shah. It's on the 22nd. But we know that we're getting Jen Shah for season 3. If she's not back for a season 4 and Mary's obviously not going to be back unless they work out some sort of deal, that is half of the show. That really is, like, they are two of the biggest kind of, personalities who bring, whether it's the fire or the kookiness or the, like the little one-liners or just like those moments where you sit back and you're like, oh, did she just say or do that? Like, they bring those moments. And we also see great sides of, both of these people. You don't just like, it's not like Danielle Staub. You know what I mean? Like that it just, I don't know what a season 4 of Salt Lake would look like if this actually works out against Jen. I really don't.
They better do some good casting for season 3. I mean, like, dynamic, amazing. And from what I've seen, they haven't done that yet.
No, they're testing like 3 or 4 women right now, but
were they on the trip?
Not that I didn't see them on the Arizona trip. No, I just saw that photo where they were all standing outside of one of those little buses that you ride where you drink or whatever. But I didn't see the newbies. I am curious to see. And I know what?
I don't want a season of 5 Housewives.
No, New York, we don't need that. I mean, we also, though, if we're going to get rid of like a Jen Shah or a Mary, you can't bring in another Whitney or another Angie. We need those dynamic personalities who are just not going to care when the cameras are around, and they're going to say what they want, react how they want, and you're not going to tell them what to do. We don't need a yes man who's just like, cameras, hi, everyone, I'm sweet and I want you to love me. Like, they didn't care if you loved them or not. And that's what made people either love them or love to hate them, but you were still talking about them. It's so important.
I agree. I think I think we covered pretty much everything. Was there anything that stood out to you that we might have missed in this discussion from last night that you kind of thought maybe we need to touch on?
Well, I thought, personally, I felt like this was, again, I gave it like a 6 point whatever. I thought this was a good intro, I guess, into it. This obviously isn't going to be the most dramatic moments. We're getting that, I think I'm going to say, part 3 of the reunion when we see Coach Shah join Jen Shah on the reunion floor. But in the meantime, I already feel like this could have been a 2-part reunion. I don't think we needed 3 parts of this. I feel like we've covered most of it in the first part. What more is there to really address, especially without one of the cast members there? And that is up to Bravo. You still film the show. You cut out all of Mary's questions because she's not there to talk about it. You don't need 3 parts, because Mary had a lot of controversy on the show too. So if we're cutting out all of that controversy and just getting the women's opinions about it, I don't really care about hearing from the women. We've already heard from the women about how they feel about Mary. I want to hear from Mary. So it just is disappointing, but I'm hoping the third part will carry us through. Second part, they didn't give us did they give us a preview for the second part?
I feel like I did not get a second part preview.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
I do have a question, because somebody asked it in the chat. Do you have a best dressed and a worst dressed for this? And I know this season these reunion looks were widely panned, but do you have a best and worst dressed?
Listen, man, I'm sorry. I would probably go with my favorite best dressed, and people are going to say, Adam, you don't know anything about fashion. I like the fact that just like Dorit Kemsley on Beverly Hills, sometimes it looks odd and she's like labels all over her, but she commits to a look. And I can appreciate that because I am not an expert in fashion by any means. I like the fact that Jen, from the gloves to this like kind of, we're all talking about it, this dress that she wore with the feathers hitting her in the face while she's trying to talk, like it gave a moment. So I might go with her or Whitney as my two favorite when it came to being best dressed. And then Meredith, I love you so much. I just didn't love this reunion outfit. I'm sorry. Richie made me do it.
I just wanted to know because
I'm supposed to see her soon. And if she sees this, she's going to be like, thanks.
Listen, I got to say this though. Meredith, when you look at her Instagram, I'm thinking to myself, I'm judging you based on what I've seen you do. And what you did here, it was not on the level of what I know you're capable of. If you wanted to do a pantsuit, you could have done that. I've seen better pantsuits on Meredith.
You know why she wore that pantsuit though, right?
No.
Because her son Brooks helped design that whole look. So it was in support of, I think it was in support of her son who helped put together this look, who she wanted to honor that. And yes.
Meredith. You know what, as Nguyen says, even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes. Okay.
I mean,
I'll say it like that.
Next time I talk to her, I'm going to say this. Listen, my mom and I went to a wedding one time and we went to happy hour before the wedding. So don't ever do that. So we went to the wedding and we're scrambling to get ready. And she's like, Adam, can you curl my hair while I put on my makeup? And I'm like, I've never curled somebody's hair, but sure. And I'm just like curling it and take it, like kind of thinking I'm doing a good job. And we walk out to get an Uber. And as she's walking out in front of me, she looks and she's like, how do I look? And I was like, great. And she turns around and she has this cockatoo looking thing coming off the back of her head. And I was like, oh no. And she's like, what, do I look? And I was like, no, Mom, we got to get there. We're already late. And we're just sitting there throughout the whole wedding. And she has this cockatoo looking thing. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And when the photos came out, she wanted to strangle me, but she let me, she's like, you got this, Adam. And maybe it's because you thought your gay son maybe that's your fault for just assuming that I can straighten your hair. So, sorry, but
don't have Adam curl your hair.
Yeah, or dress you. Nothing.
I know this is gonna sound weird for me, and hear me out, people. Hear me out. My favorite probably look was Whitney's.
Okay.
I don't know what it was about it. I did not even realize until I saw it on the show that it was green. In pictures, it looked maybe bluish green, but like I could really see it on the screen, and it was green. And so I felt like the way she had the hair, no extensions, and just the off the shoulder type of situation, I just thought it worked for her. Personally, it really worked for her. I wanted to say Jen's looked better sitting down than it did standing up, but it just felt like she had, hold on. It felt like this. I felt like I was looking at her through this the entire time, like the feathers. So I could not give her those points. I'm going to say my worst, it's got to be Meredith. And again, I'm judging her based on what I know she can do.
That's fair. That's fair. And, you know, people were dragging Heather. I thought Heather, obviously, she's a bigger woman than the other women, which I hate that they attacked that about her because I think Heather still looks amazing. And it doesn't matter, shape, size, whatever. I think it's how you dress for whatever body type you have. I thought she killed it with her look. I mean,
I didn't mind. To me, Heather's look was in the middle. Like, she wasn't the worst and she wasn't the best.
Right.
But I did feel like I didn't mind it because it was a classic type of dress. Like, you couldn't really go wrong with that type of dress. But to me, there was this confessional that she did where she had on like this, I think it was like a lace Gucci, like sheer type of number under like a blazer. I was like, no, that's what I want to see at the reunion on Heather next time, because I know, again, we've seen these women do better.
Okay, so question for you, because I know you're wrapping up, but do you think now that Meredith, because she knows that she's gotten a lot of not positive feedback for her reunion look, do you think going in the next reunion that she will let Brooks redeem this look? Or do you think she's going to be like, okay, babe, well, this one mom's got this one. I'll dress myself this time, but next time for sure, we'll use you again.
You know, Meredith does what I feel like is, I mean, she wore the face mask to last year's, season finale. So I feel like she's always going to maybe try to surprise us a little bit and do something like a little bit out there. I do hope that next year maybe they work differently together. I don't know. I don't want to talk about his style because I know that's a part of his business. And, I try not to do that. But I do feel like maybe she needs to, have someone else custom design something for the reunion, because maybe that's just not his area.
Right. That he is inspired by maybe his idea. And somebody said in the chat, she's always going to support her son. That's true. My conversations with her, we got into some deep conversations, and she is absolutely obsessed with her kids. She's such a great mom. So I think that she will always support her son. And her son kind of runs that house. That's what it comes off like.
If they were wearing tracksuits, absolutely. Have him do them. Yes, have him do that. But every designer does not specialize in every occasion.
Right. I mean, no shade, but I'm still waiting on those She by Sheree fashions, and I'm excited for season 14 to see them.
Okay, I am as well. And just a fun fact for you guys before we go. Vita25 says the ladies need a stylist for next reunion. Fun fact, here, typically, from what I understand, based on what I've heard directly from housewives, is that this can happen in one of two ways. The first way, or three ways. The first way is that the production staff or their styling team will select a dress for you. Okay. That usually happens when housewives are very, very new and they don't necessarily know that they can push back against that. The second way is you can bring in some options and they will basically say, okay, this is the option out of the three that we're going to choose. So it's not always the ladies' fault themselves, but they brought that option to the table typically. The next option is for the more seasoned housewives. They will basically say, listen, this is all I have. And that's what they end up wearing because that's what they wanted to wear anyway.
That would be a very Ramona thing to do, I feel.
A lot of more seasoned housewives, they say, listen, this is the only dress that I have.
Well, and, I believe that they only get $1,000 towards the fashions for the reunion. I think that they each only get like $1,000 compensation towards whatever they're wearing. It's something, it's not over the top, but then you think about it and like, it depends how seasoned you are and how long you've been around. But like Luann and Ramona were set to make over $250,000 to $300,000 for last year's reunion that never happened. So if you're making that kind of money coming to the reunion, you can definitely pay for a $5,000 Giovanni gown or whatever. You know what I mean?
Most of those dresses that they're going to pay for, I mean, just if you're going to be really savvy about it, are going to cost you about $3,000 to $5,000.
Right. And it's a write-off. Pay the money.
Exactly, because if you're on one of these shows, you should be having them pay you in your business checking account anyway. But that's an entirely different story for another day. Adam, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. We got this to look forward to next week. We'll be back, guys, at the same bat time, same bat channel to break it all down for you. Hopefully, it's a lot more exciting next week. I think we're going to touch on a lot of different things. And if Lisa is not going to walk off that set and walk into a car and drive away, I'm going to be disappointed because I hate a fake walk-off.
I mean, Andy always says that it just prolongs the filming day, which is already 12 to 14 hours. So I don't think anybody, I mean, I like a good walk-off, but I need you to commit.
Yeah, I'm saying if you're going to walk off, leave. Okay, just leave. Don't walk off and then change your mind and come back, or have them fake a walk off just to keep us watching the show, because I'm like, I don't need that.
Right.
Adam, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me on my channel, Up and Adam. We have a lot of great stuff coming your way this week. We have another big announcement coming on Wednesday with Zach, Peter, and I recapping New Jersey. We're dropping new announcements every single week up until April 7th because we're coming to Los Angeles, Nashville, and New York City. We're almost sold out of Nashville and New York. We're completely sold out of Los Angeles, and we have DJ Richie Skye amongst a few of our other favorite content creators, YouTubers, and Bravo celebrities joining us on stage. New York, we even have Margaret Josephs from New Jersey. I mean, there's going to be a lot of fun people joining us, and we're just holding back. That way we can kind of spread it out. If it were up to Zach, you know, well, that's kind of his way of doing it. If it were up to me, I would have just dropped a bomb and shared everything all at once. But Zach's like, no, we have to give pieces. I'm like,
oh yeah,
it drives me insane.
Yes, give it to them in bite-sized pieces.
Yes.
So, I will be in New York City with you guys. I'm excited. Again, I will probably reach my 2-drink maximum, and it's going to be on.
It's going to be on. So if you guys want to see Richie or any of us and come and play for the night, it's not just a show. I mean, I don't want to commit Richie or anybody else to, you know, hanging out for the rest of the night, but the venue, there's going to be great food, drinks, a lot of people, a lot of talent joining us. So if you want, just go to spillingtealive.com and grab your tickets before they go. I had so many people who messaged me and they're like, I can't get LA tickets. And I was like, I told you, even friends and family. And they're like, well, you can get us in. And I was like, no, because we put to the side 50 press tickets too, on top of the tickets that we were able to sell. And we have all the press tickets taken up, all the other tickets. And because of the pandemic, they're going to be strict on how many people they're clocking you at the door. So grab your tickets.
Get your tickets now, y'all.
Yes.
All right, y'all. So listen, we will see you guys next time. And hopefully you'll see Adam in a city near you very soon. Bye, y'all.
Bye.